successful yesterday? Am I on? Yes, I'm on. Okay, cool. Is the camera's not picking me up? The camera's not tracking me? Welcome. I guess we'll start a few minutes after, I know. I know yesterday the Zoom didn't work, so I don't know if people have given up on saying, well, I don't know if it's going to work today. You got it working though? Excellent. On the Zoom? Hello, Zoom participants. We'll just have Minu on all the time. Everybody's got their laptops with wallets. Any questions before we get started from yesterday? No? That was pretty basic, pretty simple. You guys understand EVM compatible chains and all the wallets and all that good stuff? Yeah, you can swap over to any EVM compatible chain with the same wallet, and you have the same address on all those different chains. So that's the benefit and the power of that one private key. But of course, then it becomes a honeypot, right? Hackers are like, ooh, I can help you solve your problems. Just send me your 12 words and I'll solve all your problems. That happens all the time. Does MetaMask limit some networks? So MetaMask is like just the skeleton, and you can add custom things to MetaMask and customize it any way you want. I think the question you're asking is, what is the default that MetaMask comes with? And there are like a set of networks that it just sort of comes with by default. So if you want to, like as a developer, you can add localhost and you can run a chain on your laptop. So that's like a custom, way to kind of interact with using MetaMask and interact with a temporary development blockchain on your laptop. And therefore you can like change it to all kinds of other things. I was doing it earlier today. I was changing the RPC, which is how MetaMask communicates with the blockchain, and it was giving me like messages saying this is not a known recognized network. So there is a way that it's sort of trying to check, because that's a classic way of hacking. Like, oh, just change your RPC to go vector towards my, right? If your public wallet address works on any chain, then it's like, oh, hey, why don't you come to my other chain here and move money over and just click on this bridge, this bridge feature and bridge it from real Ethereum to mine. Yeah.
So there are a couple, I think, extensions about it, but the one I'm using, basically, if you're ever like getting some phishing like sign like links, like it scans it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it gives you like be careful, this can be stuff.
Good.
So yeah.
What's it called? Security tip. What's it called? I was just going to repeat it for the Pocket Universe security tip. All right. I'm sure. All right. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people here and 5 people online. Good question. Why MetaMask is the question. So MetaMask is not the best, but it is the default wallet. So it's the same way. If you like, people say, what about Microsoft Word? It's like, well, Microsoft Word is the default word processing. Is it the best one? There's probably other ones that are better. Does everybody know them? Yes, everybody knows them, right? So MetaMask came out first and was the strongest one. And now when you interact with any dApp, it'll say connect your wallet, and there'll almost always be an option to select MetaMask as your wallet to connect to. So everything else is like, sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not. So that's the standard. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, one more question, go ahead. Yes. So a wallet is, so the security of your wallet is really the private key. And what you end up getting is a public key that's on chain, and all of your assets are on that chain, and your private key that you hold gives you the ability to move those assets around. So if you take your private key and put it to like a different wallet service, you can do that. Like if there's another plugin, but then you'll have, you know, that private key on two different wallets. So you'll be interacting. And you, I mean, I guess you could do that, but you'd basically be saying, I'm going to control all my assets from this wallet now and not that wallet. It's probably not advisable, but it's feasible. But you wouldn't necessarily be bridging assets from one wallet to another, because it's, again, it's just the private key ultimately is what you're storing in the wallet. So, all right, should we get started with today? Does everybody have their wallet from yesterday? I keep wanting to say last week because I always do these a week apart. Hopefully you guys from yesterday, you understand that I was sort of cramming like 3 classes into one. So we were trying to like cover a lot of ground. And today we're going to do the same thing, and it's actually more like 4 or 5 classes we're going to cram into one session. So if you have detailed questions about any aspect of it, I can probably give you a better idea. What is that?
These are microphones that go.
Oh, perfect. Excellent. Okay. We're getting microphones passed around so Zoom people can hear the questions. Perfect. Okay. And everybody's on. I don't know if I asked, Josh is out sick today. I'm not sure why, but I asked if he could monitor WhatsApp. Does everybody have their few XI on in their wallet still? You didn't spend it overnight or anything? You didn't? Did you get any?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
You didn't get any? Oh crap. Okay. We'll work on that in a bit. But let me go through this first little bit, and we can figure it out. So what I want to talk about today are DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations. I don't particularly care for the word DAO, even though I put it very large here. I prefer things more like electronic boardroom. So a decentralized autonomous organization, I've often thought that the word autonomous doesn't really apply here, but really what happens is you create an organization, which we'll do in a minute, and it's decentralized, meaning that anybody can be anywhere on the internet and participate in that organization in a very meaningful way. So you're doing voting and decision-making on this organization. And I think the automatic part of all this stuff is that once you make a decision and once the vote passes, then whatever you've decided, funds moved, or people get paid, or we buy this asset or whatever it is, that happens automatically. So typically in a classic boardroom, people make, the board makes a decision, they come up with a vote, the vote passes, great, everybody signs on the vote passing, and then after that, the lawyers take it and the accountants take it, and then they execute on it, and who knows if it happens immediately or a week later or a month later, or never happens or whatever, whatever's going on. So I think the automatic or the decentralized autonomous organization is just simply that, like it automatically carries out what the organization has decided. I find it amusing actually, because a lot of stuff in sort of classic governance and classic MBA like teachings about organizational behavior and how teams work together, that's been worked on for hundreds of years. And how do you drive consensus in an organization, in a project, in a country, in a community, whatever it is, there's always that question. And the world of crypto seems to be kind of coming back to this and reinventing this. So it's kind of been fun to watch, sort of people saying like, hey, we have a new way of building consensus. It's just code. So you still have the same human problems that you always had. It's just that now you can do it online and remotely. So I like to think about them as electronic boardrooms. I think some people have given me, some of my younger colleagues have given me a hard time for calling it electronic. They said, why don't you call it internet boardroom, Steve? So anyways, hopefully it makes sense. Okay. Remember, content for educational purposes only, because we're going to do some really cool stuff today. Really cool and really dangerous. Okay. There is a correction from yesterday. Somebody asked me, was that you? Somebody asked me a question about like block scout, and it didn't have the transaction on it. I'm not sure what part of block scout, but we need to use gnosis scan, and I think that's spelled right actually. I think if you just Google gnosisscan.io, you'll find the right blockchain explorer to actually search for the XDAI transactions. So this is just for XDAI stuff. So if you go to gnosisscan.io right now and you search for your wallet or you connect it with your wallet, hopefully you have 2 XDAI in there, or you can see the transaction that was trying to make it on there. So there's a couple people that said they don't have XDAI in their wallet. And did you actually put it in the forum yesterday? Or we're still working on good gnosis scan? Anyways, we'll figure that out. Okay. So I wanted to go back to this chart just to remind you, kind of orient you and see where we are in the landscape of things. And today we're going to work on DAOs, which are kind of a combination of dApps and custom tokens. So we're going to be creating a token, and we're going to be doing like an organization in interfacing with it using dApps. Okay, and we're going to be focused on the Ethereum chain, or on the Ethereum compatible chain. Oh, and also a reminder, ERC20, for those that are in the crypto space and know it well, that is just simply the standard for a token, a standard token on the Ethereum chain. So if you think about organizations and kind of how shareholders vote or how board of directors vote, there's certain guidelines in any corporation that a board of directors, if there's like a board of directors of 12 people, they're allowed to vote on certain criteria, or maybe, I guess it's always an odd number, so it's 13 people on the board of directors. So the majority passes. That's typically how a vote works in a classic kind of corporation. But what do they vote on? Is one person, one vote in that situation. And then for shareholders, it's typically one share, one vote. And the way that crypto has evolved is that we've started with one token, one vote. So when we build an organization, if you guys think about, do I want to have 1,000 tokens? Do I want to have 10,000 tokens? I mean, there's no constraint on how many tokens you can mint. You just want to think sort of logically about how many people do I want to have in my organization? How many do I want to send off? So previously we've done it where sort of 4 people have built an organization, and they do like 1,000 tokens each, and we mint them here in class. So, okay. Just a quick wallet review. Remember, anybody can see your balance. Anybody can see your transactions in and out. Anyone can put assets into your wallet. So there's been maybe a few years, maybe a year or so ago, but a lot of NFTs, like bogus NFTs, have sort of floated into my wallet, which is kind of strange because some of them can be rather offensive. So it's weird to look through and like, wait, where did this NFT come from? Wait, who put this? And then you have to like get it out of your wallet, which is not an easy thing sometimes. Okay. And the most important piece is that only the private key holder can remove assets, transfer assets out, and sign on behalf of the wallet and enter into smart contract transactions. So what we'll see in a minute with one of these dApps is that it constantly asks you to sign transactions. And that's simply to say, do you actually have the private key? Do you actually have the private key? There's like a constant request for that. Most of the time when you connect your wallet, there's one button and it sort of says, okay, I'm connected to this. But there's been a lot of ways that people have been able to hack that when you just do it once. So there's the newer dApp that we're going to use today. It's kind of annoying because it keeps asking you to sign things. It's like, I already did that. So one thing that you start to realize, and when I displayed this for a student a few years ago, they were like, it's kind of like your resume, right? Everybody can see your resume. It's kind of like your LinkedIn. It's like your crypto LinkedIn profile. And if you think about over time, you develop a history of transactions in a wallet, and it sort of looks like the beginning of a credit score, or maybe, broadly speaking, a reputation. So you start to think about how that's different. So there are wallets out there that I can scan easily, and I can say they have a reputation, right? They have a credit score, they have a certain capability. I don't know who they are or where they are, right? They just have an address, but they have all these transactions that I can track. The other interesting thing, and I think this is where the financial people love it so much, you'll notice that when you guys first created a wallet, that there was no ID, we don't know who you are, except you needed one thing to get started. You needed some XDAI in order to pay the gas fees. So that initial feeding of the XDAI is now traceable back to Josh, which is traceable back to me. So if somebody were doing like forensic work, they would be like, oh, well, all these wallets were created at the same time, and they all got a little seed funding from this guy, Josh, who got it from Steve. What the hell are they doing? I mean, you can almost put that together by analyzing all the transactions on on chain. Okay, one other quick side note, and this just comes up because I get questions about it. The top is an address that looks like your wallet address. Something that looks almost exactly the same, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between these numbers, 0x, long hexadecimal number, is actually a smart contract that's been deployed on chain. We haven't talked about smart contracts at all, but that's kind of one of the key differentiators of blockchain is that you can run code on chain and you can launch it and have it just sit there and run forever, which is kind of this concept of internet computer. It's a whole other side of things, but I just wanted to put this up here because the only way to tell the difference is to copy and paste this into etherscan.io and have it parse it and say, this is an EOA or an externally owned account, which is what you all have. You all created an externally owned account. It has a private key associated with it. The smart contract has no private key associated with it. It's owned by an externally owned account, or it could actually be owned by another smart contract, but that's a complex detail. So when we launch a smart contract in a few minutes, it'll be an address that like this, and it'll say, why is this a smart contract and not an externally owned wallet? Like, what's going on here? But I just wanted to put this up right next to each other. And you'll see that this is actually copied right from etherscan.io, and this is like maker's token contract. But it is a smart contract, which means you can interact with it online. Questions about that? Clear? Good? Okay. All right, and now side note number 2, which is a very, very popular question, which is how do I get fiat currency on and off of this thing? You guys got some XDAI thrown at you from me and Josh. Then in the US, the most popular one is Coinbase, which is just simply a centralized exchange that has relationships with the US regulators and the bank accounts. And Coinbase allows you to hold assets just as if they were a wallet and buy and transact and trade on their platform, but it also allows you to take an externally owned account and transfer money into Coinbase and then convert that to US dollars, which then you can put into your own bank account. So that's how you get things in and out, typically. And there's a bunch of others. I think Kraken was one too. So what IDs and KYC do you need for a Coinbase account? I think we have a Coinbase account, but you two do. No? Nobody has a Coinbase account? Good. No. Binance. Are you using Binance.us? Ah, okay. All right. You don't have to dox yourself here. That's okay. Yeah, so to open a Coinbase account, you do have to ID yourself and KYC it in order to do that. And you also connect it to your bank account, so your bank knows everything. Question?
No,
Yeah, I also have an account, but it's in the like Coinbase funded companies.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so outline of what we're going to talk about today. Just organizations and DAOs, and then you're going to build a DAO with your team, or it can be a team of one. It doesn't have to be a team of a lot of people. It's more fun with more people, but we're going to use colony.io. I was actually trying this out earlier today with Aragon, and Aragon is another one of those tool makers, but they dropped the ball on fixing things. I was looking at some errors that are 3 years old. I'm like, well, we can't do that. So we'll use Colony. I know the guys at Colony, they're actively developing it, so it should be more robust. I just want to caution you today, it's going to be slow. You're going to have to be patient with it. At least it was earlier today, but maybe the network traffic is slowing down and the chain traffic is slowing down, so it'll be a little more responsive, but we'll get it done here. Okay, so we're going to mint an ERC20 with the DAO tooling, and that primarily is to manage your team. So in a DAO setting, if you've got, everybody has a certain number of tokens and then you want to cast a vote, that's typically why you would have a token. But in our case, I want to mint an ERC20 token using their tools, and then I want to trade it. I want to list it for swapping, for sale on HoneySwap. And HoneySwap is the tool we'll use, and I'll talk more about that in a second. And you're going to have to come up with a price for your token too, denominated in XDAI, which is dollars. We'll talk about that more. Okay. So in terms of organizations and what are they for? With a fully Web3 native organization, you can be purely online. You can actually incorporate it with an LLC or a nonprofit or a foundation. There's a number of them, and there's a certain number of legal DAOs and legal people that I talk to that are saying, we should be able to do a DAO with no organization. which I think is how 90% of the DAOs operate, because you can just set one up. You can also use a DAO just internally in a corporation as like a way to coordinate people that are all over the globe, right? You can certainly put something together that way. But sort of taking a step back from Web3 and thinking about what, broadly speaking, the purpose of an organization is typically to allocate resources. So you decide how the employees are going to spend their time, who's going to get the budget for certain things, and are you going to purchase assets or are you going to use assets for certain things, right? That's kind of generically speaking what you end up doing with an organization, right? I mean, there's a hell of a lot of details around that, but just sort of broad brushstrokes, that's kind of how you what really matters at the end of the day. Like, are you going to do this or this? And are we going to spend money on that or that, right? And for those decisions, you want to capture in the vote. And the way that DAOs operate, once they get a little easier, they're pretty easy right now. You should be able to capture that vote in those decisions very easily for a lot of people to see. So there's some cool features of that you'll see in a second. So, okay, some example resource allocations, strategic decisions, investments, and improving budgets. One thing to note as we develop a DAO, all of the transactions and all of the voting is available and visible by the public by default. So there are, of course, I'm showing you like the basic DAO tooling, right? Like this is to learn the basics. And of course, there's advanced DAO tooling that has figured out how to make things private and all the rest of that stuff. But I wanted to show you guys like you start with the MetaMask wallet and then you spin up a DAO. And this is like the most basic DAOs, which by default just kind of put all the transactions on chain so everybody can see how much money is in there. And I'll show you a DAO that has like 1.6 billion, I think, in its reserves, and you can just see it online, and you can see like they make an investment decision. There's like a bunch of votes that have approved it, but it's all wallets that come in and vote and approve things. So it's hard to know like who it is, but you can see like broadly speaking that the DAO has actually decided to make certain investments, which is fun. Okay, I previously used to use Aragon, which was kind of the original DAO tooling company from years ago, and they created like a wonderful tool that was working well in the early days, but since they've kind of fallen off. So we'll use Colony today. There's another group called DAO House. These are kind of the original ones. Most of them are on Ethereum mainnet, which once you figure out what you're doing on Gnosis chain and you create a DAO and issue tokens and stuff on the cheap chain, you can move over to the more expensive chain because you don't want to make like a $30 mistake and then another $50 mistake and then another $10 mistake. You make a 0.1 cent mistake and a 0.2 cent mistake and you're good. Luckily, the tooling is almost identical on XDAI versus on other mainnet chains. So we're going to use xdai.colony.io. DAO House is also native on XDAI too. So what I'd like to do is, we're not doing the theory and practice. You guys are going to actually do this right now. So you need a name of your organization. So in a minute, we'll pause and you can talk amongst yourselves and a name of your organization, the 3 letters for the token, the wallet address of all the owners. And then you can go to this xdai.colony.io and you can get on the Gnosis chain and start to create an organization and mint a token. Does everybody have a company name already in the 3 letters that they want to use for their token? Or do we need to pause? Should I put my 2-minute timer on here? Okay, pause.
I am
From scratch
Sorry.
for me too. So.
Ever. See that.
You have it? And did you got the XI?
Ever.
This one?
Yeah,
You
I know.
I have a
I don't
question.
get it.
Oh, you didn't get it? You always
Go to the-
Yes.
How do you make yourself? Okay, that's no problem.
XYZ.
And I can make it.
Well, it's PI.
It's sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but it's funny. You're with people.
So other than this, I mean, like, how do I
We
gain
have that.
comfort?
Now we have to use
Let's
the
say-
Gnosis chain. Oh, create a
wow.
colony.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's the,
This is the draft.
yeah, but I also
Sometimes I-
put here this like Aragon.
Yeah, no,
here
yeah.
is create,
Yeah.
make sure that-
Both of us need to have XI
Yes,
So-
you have both have the XI?
Yes, because.
Actually, yeah.
colonies-
If only one could operate.
You also be closer. in height.
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay,
an
okay.
alternative to this platform that we're using today. which is-
So we have.
Let's make it more challenging.
Oh, you should.
Like explored by-
Okay,
I
this
would
one.
assume create a colony.
Yes, that one, yep. Yep, yep, yeah, hold on a second.
There's.
We have the name. We can wait for you.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think we got everybody teamed up here. So, okay, so this is kind of the long process, but I'm assuming you guys know how to read instructions on screens, and I don't need to go through all the screens. But I can, let's do that actually real quick. So this is you're gonna go through all these instructions, let me just show you the pictures real quick. This is like a whole series of signing. This is when you're gonna create a token. This is after you've already entered your company name and stuff. And there's a whole bunch of these signature requests, as you were saying, like, I don't know what this is, but you're signing it. You're not giving away your private key when you're signing a transaction. You're just proving to the smart contract you're interacting with that you own the private key to that account. So it's not a security breach. Some signatures can be a little scary, but luckily you're just signing a message here. So you'll have to do that a whole bunch of times in order to get past this. And then once you get to this stage, this is when you're all done and you actually have some tokens in it. But let me go back to this thing and we'll set the timer for 10 minutes and you guys can try it out. And I don't know if there's a way to interact with the people on Zoom. And I assume the people on Zoom are sitting by themselves. So maybe they can do this on their own. So if people on Zoom can ping in, Minu, can you see if there's anybody commenting or chatting? Okay, all right. You guys can all see the timer, so I'll be walking around and answering questions when I'm just like, oh.
And then this just pops up.
When I created like
Okay.
2 years ago.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that it's not fair. I just like moved all the cryptos
From MetaMask to where?
to another account so that it's not leaked. So basically it's a and then.
Oh, because there was a leak.
Yeah.
I didn't know. What I created
So-
yesterday, so
So don't
Okay, no.
the private keys on the.
Okay, so I am connected. So
Just write it.
And then I think.
each of us has to do
I shouldn't copy.
the process or
sorry.
just one?
I think it's too late.
Yes, only one person needs to actually
For my name,
create
nothing.
the
Colon.
company. So you guys
Okay.
decide what your company name is in your token. And one of you, presumably the one with the most XI in their wallet, should create the company. If you have 0 XI in your wallet, you're not gonna be able to do it. So
Okay.
hopefully everybody on everybody's team has XI in the wallet. So let me know if
You
you
have
have.
exercise.
So I don't, so we see it as 0 here, but I
Yeah.
did try to check
Wait,
it.
no,
But
Go back.
here is.
see that Ethereum mainnet? Pull it down to
Username.
add network. And then Gnosis chain you want to add. Yeah, that's it. Add. Yep, approve. Switch to Gnosis. Yeah, then
Hold
switch
on.
to Gnosis. and then-
I
I
would
see.
send that's the
Okay,
name
so
of
you
the-
got, she's got 2
tower.
XI.
Okay,
Good.
How about
Yeah.
you?
Awesome.
I think.
Oh yeah,
Um,
same.
Changed.
Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, Add
Okay.
network.
Why?
I know that says add network, even though it's in Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I go further down.
Okay.
Approve and sign off.
Okay.
Colony name.
And then approve.
What should we
Why am
name
I
it?
not?
And you have 2 XI.
Perfect.
Okay.
So everyone. So one should create it and the rest should sign.
One should create it and then you're gonna decide how much tokens to give to each other. So it's good that you're all sitting together, so he can't steal the 5,000 tokens. He's gonna have to split it.
Okay.
Should we decide the same amount of tokens to give each other?
It's just for
Hold
fun.
on.
Yeah.
Give me a
Okay.
minute.
Let me just look.
So only one person
Do
from
you
the
want me
group
to create it?
creates
or
the-
someone
the-
wants to create it?
the colony, right?
Yeah, one person in the
then-
group should create the column.
Okay.
Yeah. Chris
First
column.
time, so
Colony
create a
name.
colony.
The other point I wanted to make,
Username.
in case you guys are getting worried about making a mistake,
It's a-
blockchains are immutable entities, which means everything you write is gonna be there forever and you can't
colony
erase it.
name.
So that means that when you make a mistake, you just drop it and start all over again. So if you lost your note card and somebody stole it and has the secret keys, just forget about it. Like, to take the 2x die out of there and move it somewhere else and then, create a new wallet and start all over again. It's the same thing with
I don't know what am
colonies
I
on
doing.
XI.
Okay.
If you screw up some way in the process, who cares? Throw it away and start over again. The only challenge will be if you want to get a unique
Native
URL,
token for
it may not be
HKS
available
pizza.
because that's the one thing that.
Your
blocks it.
reputation. Let me put it.
What colony name?
Because-
What should we look?
Whatever.
Uh,
the color is.
Go to the main page.
I think that
Not very creative.
we have already existing tokens. Yes, so.
I guess we'll just.
No, but
Yeah.
we have to create a new token, right?
I mean, what?
Token.
Yes, yes, create a new token, yes.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
That's where you
Create a
put
new
the
token.
token name, which is the company name if you want,
Okay.
Token name.
and then token symbol.
Also token.
So HKS pizza.
Mhm.
Token symbol. Like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
To the moon.
Oh, yeah, so do a new
Username, pizza, your colony, HKS pizza,
Mhm.
your
It's
colony
the
is
same
native token.
before, but like, I guess for a project, it works.
That's the safe one or the
It's not safe.
Oh, I have to sign it.
none of them?
It's abandoned wallet.
Okay.
I have
Yeah, for this
another
project.
version.
I was like, you got 1.7
Oh.
million, Colin, what the hell are you doing here?
So I am doing a transaction right now, which is claiming the username. So it's yes,
You guys
it's
coming along
gonna
here?
deduct whatever
Does this look
charges
right?
for the.
This look, yeah, that's right.
Nice.
MNX.
Only sign this
Yes,
message if
sign.
you truly understand the content. and trust the
Moonlight
requirements. You are signing. I don't.
By the way, I
understand
am gonna
this.
ask you guys for your tokens
Yeah.
because I will want to buy some.
So,
Select username, pick a column.
so we just.
So we were
complete the
right here.
transaction?
So we were signing each
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah, you're signing each of that in order to create the token, so just keep going through that whole thing.
Okay.
And then eventually it'll ask you for like a tenth of a penny and a third of a penny and all
Uh-huh.
that stuff. You
Okay.
just have to go
So
through each.
just
Great.
continue.
Okay.
Yes.
Remove the table so that we can connect to the power. Please don't.
All right.
Okay, I'm creating the DAO. What's your name? Sure.
Sign, create colony.
And
What's your name?
Mario,
Mario, okay.
like Mario Bros.
Yeah, I guess.
We should sell pizza. Sign pizza NFTs or something like that.
What do you do?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
No worries. No idea.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I just graduated from MBA. And right now I'm working at a blockchain startup.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, what sort of job?
Them the director of business
Token
development,
authority.
not the founder. Yeah.
So as I
I
suggested,
started in
so
product
this is all
for
this
1 year.
criteria for
In product.
deployment
product
on
thing.
blockchain
But now, even though I'm still putting in product,
token.
I'm focusing on
Mhm. So what I understand we're doing here is creating the company
Mhm.
and giving it
it's a bit further
a
away.
coin. Well,
20 minutes.
not a coin, but
Token.
No, I live
token.
here in
Yeah.
Chestnut Hill.
Yeah.
So we have to give each other.
Yes.
Yeah, I live here, boss.
So- So here probably give funding permission to, well, I don't know.
No, not yet, but
So-
probably it's not much.
Another
When
question
I
here.
want to
Have to
study again.
give this admission. Yeah.
At what point, because we're just signing this, at what point am I including them into the company?
So you're just creating the token right now. Your
Yeah.
token, there'll be 0 in it,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna mint tokens. So you're gonna mint the tokens for the organization. So you're acting like the chairman of the organization. Having the treasurer.
No.
Luckily, these guys
One
are-
on one device. And then I can-
So it's not very decentralized right now. That's my one complaint about colonies. It's not very- But then as soon as you get it up and running, you can, if you see the improvement side all transactions, so you're on step 6 right now.
Okay.
So then you go to the main page of the new colony and then you could do a new action, manage funds, mint tokens. You can mint like, you can mint 1 million if you want. You gotta sign something.
Okay.
And then once you get in there, you have to unlock the tokens, which is a special step for colony. And then once they're unlocked, then you can send them to people using MetaMask.
Oh,
And then you guys can get copies of the tokens. There's also tools in colony. I think these guys were inviting people in colony. Somebody was inviting out.
Yeah, I think-
Colony. That's like the
So-
colony tooling. That's not the chain.
So now we have to come back to our,
Yeah, go to actions, do a new action. Are you using this?
Uh-huh.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, new action.
okay.
this one?
Yeah, I think you did one. Yeah, new action.
Okay.
And then manage funds. I think it is.
New action manage funds, manage, yeah. mhm.
How can I invite contributors?
Amount.
I
How
think
much?
contributors. Probably here or
Maybe
what,
new-
as a
new
watcher.
3,000 or 30,000 or 300.
Manage team.
3,000 each? So
I think that's at
9,000
the
total?
team level.
Oh, yeah.
Explain why you're minting more.
Why you're minting more
Probably
tokens?
here.
Optional.
You have to unlock. You unlock it. Yeah, do a new action.
There.
Invite.
But that's as a watcher. That's what you. I don't know if it's the same thing. Contributors. Invite. Probably I have to invite your. Copy the link. Share
This is
follow the
within
URL.
This is if you.
Yeah, I think that works. And then
Use that.
WhatsApp or email.
Or you can do that.
email.
And send it from my college. What's your email?
So I'll type it.
We got like thousands each of tokens, like for capital of equity.
Uh-huh. Like,
Yeah, or no, so. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not-
Station.
I probably have to sign. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good question. I think it feels
Yeah.
like equity, but
Okay.
we could just ask.
I think it is.
Yeah. I
It's
think-
like the
yeah.
power to vote something,
Yeah, for vote.
something like that. Yeah.
And
Okay.
unlock
Go.
tokens.
Hello. Okay,
Same page.
10 minutes are up. Hopefully everybody's got it all figured out.
Manage funds and
All right, right,
unlock
right, right.
funds.
New action. New action.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully you guys all went through this wonderful step, which was step 6 back here, approving and signing all transactions. You
20K?
did that,
Uh-huh.
did all the signature requests. So now you should have something that looks something like this, where you did new actions to
Yeah.
unlock the tokens,
Yeah.
new
Yeah,
actions
on
to
blockchain. So-
send tokens to other people. The thing that I want to draw your attention to is this red box over here. So of course I did Harvard HKS as my DAO, which has one person as a member. And I created HKS tokens. But if you click on the HKS tokens, what you'll see is the smart contract address of your ERC20 token that's behind it.
Go to.
So I know you guys want to share tokens with each other, which is great. You can do that, or you can do that on chain, or you can do that through the tools. Did you guys do it through the tools, the Colony tools? Like you invite somebody else?
Yeah, so the invite just shares the link of the colony. That's what it does.
Oh, okay. So
Connected my wallet.
yeah, so you connected your wallet to the colony, to that colony, and then you can join that colony. And I think once you're joined to the colony, you can,
That system.
yeah, he can share, whoever is the controller of the tokens can share tokens with you through that. You may actually have to unlock your, I think once they're unlocked, they're unlocked.
Yeah, these are unlocked.
Yeah. So just a quick side note on Colony and why we have to jump through all these hoops. Colony has done a lot of work on trying to figure out how to manage organizations with tokens. So they have a very strong protection of keeping tokens in the Colony ecosystem and not letting them out to be traded, because they find that the next step that we're about to do, which is to trade the tokens, creates all kinds of issues and challenges within the organization. Oops, sorry. But you know, it wouldn't be fun education if we weren't taking some risks here, right? So what you're finding is Colony has kind of an inside tools where you can move funds around between members of the Colony, which is great.
Yeah.
And if you unlock the tokens, then that means they're freely available to move on chain. So now what we have is tokens on chain that you've minted using an ERC20 contract, and then you can move them all over the place. You can send them anywhere. You can even take them off of XDAI and put them on mainnet if you want to. But this is the most important thing. So there's like 2 tricks to this entire class session. This is one of them. Knowing where to find that ERC20 contract. And if you take that contract and put it into nosisscan.io, you'll see the full smart contract and all of the code behind it, because it's an open source smart contract that's been well audited. So if for those of you in crypto or those of you not in crypto, typically when people talk about smart contracts, it's always been, oh geez, I have to hire a developer, they have to know Solidity, they have to write all this code, and they have to, launch an ERC20 token, and it's going to be customized to my stuff, and then I have to go hire auditors to make sure my stuff is going to get. Luckily, we've gotten so mature that we have code that just automatically generates the ERC20 token, and that same code basically has been audited 18 times already, and it holds billions of dollars behind it. So you can have the confidence of all this other work that's been done for you. And it's also super easy and cheap to launch an ERC20 token, which is great. So I think that's one of the nice features of kind of using these tools that they have, because you can sort of stand on the shoulders of giants and move forward. So questions on this stuff so far? Are we all up to speed? Does everybody have their ERC20 tokens?
So that address is under the name of the.
So if you click on the name of the token in that red box, the red box is not showing your screen. I put it on here.
This
So if you click on that, you should get,
But I
it
think
should
it's
pop
the
up and give
same.
you the
No?
address.
No,
And then you can
no, it's
click on
not
this
the
little
same.
copy thing and just copy it right over and paste it into.
What is the address under our name at the left bottom?
Top
corner?
left.
Yeah, top left.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Oh, the address up there?
yeah.
That's the address of the DAO. So the
Okay.
DAO itself is a smart contract too. And
Okay.
the token is also a smart contract, but it's used just to do the transactions within the DAO. So the DAO has its own set of smart contracts that we don't need to dive into, that all have to do with all this new action and approving and all that kind of stuff. What I wanted to get at is just a very robust ERC20 token contract, and that's what this is.
Hmm.
So don't copy this one because you won't get anything. You only get the one with the token.
Okay.
Does everybody have their token copied in a safe place or copied in either scan? Because you're going to need it in a few minutes, probably several times.
So
Raise your hand if you've got your ERC20 token.
where should I?
Okay, we've got 2 groups left.
Is the next step to?
Yeah, or regard, drop us an email to.
Yeah, you can invite her into the DAO, and then you can, but you've unlocked the token already? Yeah, so you can invite her into the DAO and then send some tokens to her. So she's at hopefully the same number of tokens. I mean, unless you wanted to secretly mint some more. So the interesting thing about setting up a DAO, and the reason why I wanted to say, when you first set up a DAO, it's, you can go ahead and make mistakes and not worry about it because you can throw it away. The process, and I like to blend kind of the technology with sort of management strategy, because the process of you guys creating a DAO right now, you're sitting right next to each other, so you know if it's fair or not, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious if it's fair or not. If you're setting up a DAO, in a global organization, it's hard to know when you first started, is this right or not? Once you guys create a DAO, and after some of those tokens have been minted, everything is locked down, and any movement of tokens becomes a subject of voting and a subject of actions. And of course, there's a way to override that. And Colony actually is a little more centralized. The reason why I always push on Aragon is because it's more decentralized. So, and it's a lot more of a pain in terms of moving tokens around. Colony has that sort of, can I just go in God mode here and move some tokens around because I need to do some stuff, which of course, is leave yourself open to all kinds of abuses there. So nonetheless, typically when you create a DAO, you want to figure out how to get it right the first time, because then it minimizes the number of changes you have to make. But if you don't get it right, then you just say, okay, well, we have to move some more tokens from one person to another, or from treasury to another person. Let's put it up for a vote, and we can vote on it in this thing. It'll pass, or then that. Once it passes, then the tokens are automatically sent. That's the automatic part of it. So now that we've kind of jammed a bunch of DAO stuff at you, and you can tell that this is typically like done over an entire class, and there's usually a case study afterwards, but you just got a little taste of DAO. And as long as everybody's got their ERC20 token, do you have your ERC20 tokens? You got them all now? Everybody's got them? We're good. All right. So now we're going to get more complicated, but I want to do a little innovation side note here just to kind of set the stage. I've been studying technology innovation for a long time, and there's about 14 different ways of people strategizing about technology innovation. But the 2 that I wanted to bring up right now that are particularly relevant for blockchain are incremental innovation and architectural innovation. Incremental innovation, an example of that is like a lower cost. So you go talk to a customer and they say, that's great, I'd like it to be cheaper, right? And if you do innovative things that make it cheaper, you make money. It's fantastic, right? It works great. I kind of prefer the sort of crazy technologies, if you haven't figured that out already. So this is kind of great, you can make money, boring. The thing that people don't recognize, though, is that the advantage goes to the incumbent. So there's a large entrenched player, and there's an incremental innovation that they want to take advantage of, the person like Amazon, right? Amazon's got huge channels of distribution, huge number of customers. If they can grab onto a technology that's a little bit cheaper, they can make a crap ton of money out of that. And any new company coming along will be able to make a few pennies out of that. So it's obvious that the incumbent would have an advantage there. It's great, still a way to make money, it's wonderful. But the other part I get excited about is architectural innovation, which is kind of like ripping out the guts of the business model and starting all over again. So of course, a new, an old company is not going to do that. And one classic example of this is this is probably way before all your times, but Netflix used to mail DVDs. Did you guys know that? Oh, you know that? Okay. So to go from mailing DVDs to then streaming movies, it's kind of obvious when you look backwards, right? When you look back in history, it's like, oh, well, yeah, of course they did that. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? But when you're sitting in a place where they have all these distribution centers and they're mailing DVDs everywhere and they're making a ton of money, it's like, we need to throw away these DVDs and go all online and stream. And at the time, the streaming was kind of not the greatest and a little bit glitchy and stuff. It's like, are you crazy? We can't do that. But that's a great example of an architectural innovation. Now, the only reason why I don't like that example is because the advantage goes to a new venture. So typically, it wouldn't be Netflix, it would be somebody else eating Netflix lunch saying, hey, we're going to stream content and we're going to eat your breakfast. And that's typically how that happens. Just so happens that Netflix happens to be geniuses in terms of like, hey, this new trend is coming along. We better jump on it and dump our old business model, right? So what I like to do is say the idea of decentralization of system and authority can really only be embraced by a new venture or a new entity coming on board. Like anybody who's kind of the head of a central government, the head of a central bank, is not going to be like, hey, let's jump on decentralization. And another example that I've used in my class is, if you went to Mark Zuckerberg and said, hey, Mark, I know you're making like $12 billion a year on this centralized Facebook thing, but how about we just rip that out, throw that all away, and tomorrow we start over decentralized? What do you say? Obviously, it sounds silly, but of course he's going to be like, yes, why don't we invest in some little side projects and watch that decentralization thing and see how it works and crush it as soon as it gets closer to competing with this. So, anyways, I wanted to give you that little background about sort of architectural innovation because as we talk about DAOs, the instant thing that people do is think, well, how can large Fortune 500 companies use DAOs? And it's like, well, it's an architectural innovation. It's probably not going to be adopted first off by large companies, like maybe in small little projects, but it's going to be like, it's going to come in through new ventures that are going to adopt it and create new business models taking advantage of that change, of that decentralization of system authority. Okay, so some examples of disruptive innovation. How can I have a confirmed asset transfer anywhere on the globe with zero trusted intermediaries? Before 2009, this was impossible. So the answer is like any L1, which is Ethereum, Bitcoin, all the classic chains, all the OG chains, or actually any chain. And I guess the interesting thing is when you look at that, it's like, okay, well, who cares, right? Does anybody care about getting confirmed asset transfer around the globe? Well, there's a lot of people that care about that. So, okay, and now the other question is, if I want to have a brokerage, like a Wall Street brokerage, how would I decentralize that? Let's take a look. So a centralized versus decentralized marketplace. A central marketplace, like Wall Street, right? It has a concentration of buyers and sellers. It has super high liquidity. It's got great volume, great price discovery, the best deals, market makers, and they maintain order books all in a centralized place, right? It's like, this is fantastic. Why would you want to decentralize this? And not only that, how would you decentralize that? Right? If I've got this one place and everybody knows, go to Wall Street if you want to buy and sell stock. And what do you want to do an IPO? Go to Wall Street, right? There's one-stop shopping to do that. However, we have decentralized exchanges, but the hard questions are, who provides the liquidity? It can't be a central player if you're decentralizing it. And who will be the market maker? And that can't be a central player because you're decentralizing. So if you think about, the buyers and sellers, those are already kind of decentralized, right? They're at the edge of the network. But the liquidity and the market makers are in the central Wall Street brokerage firm. So we have to figure out how to pull those out and bring them to the edge. Luckily, these geniuses at Uniswap in November 2018, and I've met the Uniswap guys, and it's really funny to talk to them about, where did you get the idea for this Uniswap? Because this was the first decentralized exchange, which was very radical at the time. Like, that's not going to work. You guys are crazy. I forgot the name of the founder, but he said, yeah, Hayden, he said, well, actually, I was just reading all of Vitalik Buterin's research and all his blog posts, and it was just one idea out there, and I was like, I need to code this up. So, you know, that and $1 trillion later, yeah, that's Hayden. That's, well, I guess he didn't sign it, but I think that's Hayden's tweet. So they launched the first decentralized exchange. It's an open source public good. All smart contracts are open source. But the question is, how does it solve the liquidity and market making in a decentralized way? So first off, the liquidity, in order for me to centralize it, that means I need to say, you can provide liquidity, you can provide liquidity, everybody can provide liquidity, and it doesn't have to be a central player, right? It doesn't, I mean, for the Uniswap is a central player. It can be a large player, but I need to be able to figure out how everybody can provide liquidity into this pool and enable trading between pairs. So I don't know why even though I'm an engineer, I'm married to an English major, so she's always talking about the English language. So I'm always like, trading pairs, buying and selling, swaps, exchanges, you know, ultimately it's kind of the same thing, right? I'm saying, here's one thing, I want to exchange it for some amount of another thing, right? And most of the time, I'm buying something for US dollars, right? The currency is on the denominator all the time. So when I say exchange and swap and, you know, that kind of stuff, hopefully it's not too confusing. So for example, I've got ETH/DAI up here. To me, that's just how many dollars per ETH is there. But technically, I'm swapping an ETH for a DAI token. So it's like I'm swapping two tokens. So the way that liquidity works in a decentralized exchange is that anyone can provide liquidity pools in 50-50 equal pairs, equal value pairs. And then what I'm telling you now, and for those that are more sophisticated, is this is like original Uniswap. This is like easy Uniswap. They've since gone on and created all kinds of fancy add-ons, but I want to just cover the basics. So if you want to launch a token, you can put together a 50-50 pool of the 50% of value of your token and 50% of value of DAI or XDAI or ETH or whatever you want to trade it against. For today's class, we're going to do XDAI. So you guys have 2 XDAI. So I recommend taking one of those XDAIs as your trading pair versus your token. And then you can decide what you want to charge for your token. And since we're going to be creating a liquidity pool, you're going to be the first ones to launch your token into a liquidity pool. You're not going to actually, well, you can trade it afterward, but the first step is providing that liquidity pool. So, and then the question always comes up, why do people want to create a liquidity pool? Because you get 0.3% of the fees for doing exchanges between one and the other. So there's a lot of money being made by people posting a whole bunch of money into liquidity pools. Yeah, I've got some data on that later. Does this make sense? And we're going to get more into it, but just basics are covered. Okay. Okay, then the question is, who does the market making? And we have an automatic market maker. It's done by code, of course. Uniswap selected this automatic market maker formula. I don't mind code, I don't mind equations, but I like to make them simple, and especially when explaining them. So does anybody know the curve of this? X times Y equals K? Hyperbola, right, good. Basically what it says is the number of tokens of, say, ETH, or the number of tokens of your token, times the number of tokens of XDAI is a constant. And you're going to set this constant today when you first launch your liquidity pool. So you take the number of tokens you have and the number of XDAI, and then you lock that together in a smart contract and launch it as a liquidity pool. And what that does is it enables trading between the two. Now, the size of the liquidity pool matters. So if I have 1 XDAI in there and say 100 of your tokens, they're a penny each, and I go and try and buy 10, it's like, sorry, I don't have 10 to sell you. I can't, like, it doesn't work. If I go and try and buy 1, it'll be like, well, you're going to deplete the entire pool, so the price is going to be ridiculous. But if I try and buy not 1, if I try and buy 100 of your tokens, I'm going to deplete the pool. But if I try and buy 1, that's a very small percentage of the overall liquidity pool, so I should be able to buy 1 and not adjust the pool. So what this curve looks like, this is the hyperbole. So not hyperbole, yes, yeah. So what you have is the quantity of DAI on the y-axis and the quantity of ETH on the x-axis. So, and this is the curve. This is the x times y is k, and that maintains the exact same shape once you launch the liquidity pool. Now, if somebody else comes along and says, "Hey, I've got some tokens and I've got some DAI and I want to add to that," that moves the curve up a little bit as you add more and more to the pool. So if you know how hyperboles work as you get further out, and what you want to be is right, you want to stay right at that 50-50 point. you get a much more stable pricing. So in other words, the more liquidity I have in my liquidity pool, the more stable the price is compared to this other token. So if I'm trading it versus ETH, everybody says ETH is volatile, but I used to like to joke that 1 ETH is 1 ETH, so depends on what's on the denominator, but everybody puts dollars on the denominator. So. Okay, and this is kind of how the price changes. As you spend ETH to buy DAI, it moves the overall price point down to this other point of the curve. And then as you buy ETH and put DAI into the pool and buy ETH, it moves back up. So. And all the while, it does shift a little teeny bit because there's a small fee being taken out of it. But again, I didn't want to overcomplicate these pictures. Okay, so Uniswap today has like version 1, version 3. This is actually a year old. $4 billion in total value locked. So it's funny because I really like to put these slides in because it's like, I can see in your eyes, you're like, this guy's crazy. Nobody's actually doing this. No, there's $4 billion. And every 24 hours, there's $7 billion in trade. So there's real money happening to this. The largest pools are DAI USD. So DAI is an algorithmic stablecoin, and USDC is a fiat-backed stablecoin. And you can see why that would be a fantastic pool because it probably doesn't move much past 1/1. So there's that hyperbola. The price is going to stay very constant, so you don't have to worry about. You can just generate a lot of money from the fees off of that transaction. And then BTC, people like to trade BTC and Ethereum. I think it's probably Questions on this? You guys ready to trade, launch your tokens? Get them launched, let's get a liquidity pool out there. Yes, sir.
In the case of DAI with USDC, how does the liquidity provider get a fee from the transactions if it stays constant, right?
Yeah. So the question is, how do you get a fee from the transaction? So when you take, say, $1,000 of DAI and $1,000 USDC, and you match them together and put them into a liquidity pool, and the liquidity pool already exists, so you put it, adding it onto a new one. What's minted to you is an exchange token, and that exchange token actually has a value, and that value goes up. So you can actually sell the exchange token, but that exchange token goes up in value as the fees accrue on that. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions? Anybody online? Anybody on Zoom have questions? Okay, good. Hi, Zoom. All right, so one other quick comment. Because Uniswap is so successful and it's open source, that means a wonderful history of forking. So on Binance, there's PancakeSwap, on Curve. And there's Curve, which is not exactly a fork, but it's added a bunch of features to it. Balancers the same way as SushiSwap. I met the CEO of SushiSwap. He says it's just nothing but a meme coin, which is fine. Fork the code and have fancy marketing, that works. Polygon's got a quick swap exchange, and Gnosis Chain has HoneySwap, which is what we'll be using in a minute. What do you think, guys? Questions, comments? These are old slides, so if you got more modern updates, it's fine. All right, so you guys have already got your ERC20 token. So now we're going to provide liquidity for it, which means you're launching it. And by the way, this is all for educational purposes, and what we're doing is like pushing the limits of regulation if we were doing it for real. But really, the weird thing about it is we're going to launch a token, and typically what happens is it's the promotion and selling of that token that's illegal. So if I just launch a token quietly and nobody knows about it, then there's not much illegal about it, right? But if I go out and say like, hey, buy my token, it's the greatest thing ever, it's like, sorry, I wish Tim were here, but he would probably correct me and say, well, actually, there's more to it. But that's my engineer understanding of the regulations. Okay. All right, so you're going to provide liquidity for your token. You have 2x DAI in your wallet, so I suggest using one of them as the underlying exchange token to use. And hopefully, whoever was the main kind of operator of the DAO, you're going to have most of the tokens at your disposal. But there's probably one step that we should do beforehand, which is to make sure that your token is in your MetaMask wallet. So you unlocked your token. And what you can do is, as long as your MetaMask is on Gnosis chain, you can, I think there's sometimes the MetaMask has the ability to automatically scan your wallet to see if there's new tokens in there. But sometimes you have to add it manually. So actually, I think I can do this live. I'm live, right? I can do this live.
So MetaMask, what?
Yeah, token to MetaMask, right?
Yeah, you can just add the token to MetaMask. Sometimes it finds it. This one found mine. Wait, 400 HKS. I've got a whole bunch of Harvard Kennedy School tokens. Right down here, it says like import tokens. So if you have to do it manually, you just copy and paste your token address in that. Did you guys see where that came from?
No.
So if you're in MetaMask and I'm on Gnosis chain here, oops. And right at the bottom, it has this HKS. It found it for me, but if I needed to import it manually, I just select import tokens. And then you copy. And typically, if you copy and paste the contract address for the token, it'll automatically populate the number of decimals.
No.
And
Why is the balance 0?
Import tokens.
did you unlock your tokens?
Unlocked.
And are they in your wallet?
It's in the colony. Yes, in colony.
Yes,
So do I have to do another step after unlock, transfer it?
What does it show up here? You see
So
up
it says
here?
unlock. Yeah.
Does it say 100, whatever, 0 above the top
It says
here?
0. Because I don't have that step of pay
Oh, yeah, pay.
this much.
Yeah, it's 0.
Yes, pay yourself.
So.
Because
New action.
if I understood correctly what he said.
Create
we're
expenditure.
gonna use
Create
one
expenditure.
here.
Oh, no, wait, that's not right. No, great.
Really
Pay,
tokens.
manage funds, transfer funds,
Transfer funds, I only see root to root.
root to root, me
Which way
too.
is this?
Yeah. How did I do this? Let's see, maybe I paid myself.
How do you unlock the token?
I guess I paid myself, paid 100,000 from root. Yeah, payment.
Payment.
Yeah,
Unlock.
So which.
No,
means
you just go to the
expenditure,
mask. And then,
great expenditure, payment,
I
yeah.
have to do it
Yep.
from here.
Yeah, you can just put any
Unlock.
address number you want, actually. Or you can name a person.
So
I don't think it's locked.
Is this making sense?
I don't
Yes.
think it's
two
locked.
questions.
Yeah, it's
So at what point in time?
Can you use the mic for the Zoom people?
Yeah, sure. At
from here.
what moment should we distribute the tokens to the rest of the,
Right now, you should distribute the tokens right now.
how?
So if the other community members are connected to your DAO, which they can do by invite and join the colony, then you can do it using this tool right here, which is to create a payment and go from root, which is the DAO owning the tokens, not you individually, and then you can pay it to the individual that's been assigned or that's in the DAO.
Let's see what happens. From root to root.
Now the question is, does anybody have their tokens in their MetaMask wallet? You want to join a team?
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just.
Anybody need a new member of their team? No. we
In
got
transferring the
3
fund,
already.
it's in the action, right?
Catch up.
I think it's make payment. Action. Manage fund. I think it's create expenditure.
Yes,
We're
go ahead.
having trouble joining the colony.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Has anybody else figured out how to join the colony by somebody that doesn't have any tokens?
We could do it.
You can do it?
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Invite and actually now appears. So it basically creates
Invite
an
link.
invite link here.
Then,
So you clicked on the link and what happened?
click on the link and then, you can like basically like, there's another like series and signature on your wallet. You like, after you sign, there's like, you could just like click on the join on that top left.
Okay, so when you clicked on the link, your wallet's connected to the browser and then you can say join colony there. Got it, okay.
You said divided the entire amount of our tokens.
You should not send all of your tokens to your.
We should leave some in the.
Yeah, so what the root is the treasury of the DAO organization. So you should send some to yourself. So it's kind of weird to be the one having all the tokens and to be an individual, but you send some to yourself and send some to your partners. So, and hopefully you all get the even number of partners. But then somebody is going to have some tokens in their wallet in order to issue them for liquidity. So just decide who that is. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just play around with it. Redo it when you don't like it. See what we got. Yes.
Yeah, so are we sending funds from MetaMask to our colony address?
No, don't send any funds to your MetaMask address. I mean, you can if you want to, because there's 0xDAI in here, so you could actually add some to it, but there would be no point. But this is, you know, sort of going further down. If we were doing a full DAO class, we would spend probably 2 days on the colony tooling and like all of the management and voting features of this. What we're just doing right now is setting you up with tokens so that you can be active participants in a DAO in colony, and you can vote on things based on how many tokens you have in your wallet. But what I really want to do is get those tokens out of colony, because they're a wonderful little ERC20 token that we can then take out and jam into HoneySwap and start trading them, which is where the fun is.
I didn't know launching it. So easy.
Yeah.
It's totally easy. No, it's
I don't
scary easy.
Scary. You can actually do it in 20, 30 seconds using other websites. Yeah. So they have like a layout ready, and all you do is just add your name. And then there is a contract already done. So you just sign it, and then they deploys the contract, and you can like, trade it already.
That's what we just did. We just
Yeah.
deployed the contract, but now you have the tokens, you have all the tooling of having a DApp too, you have all the benefit of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's as I often say, this is awesome, anybody can do this, and like, oh
Yeah.
shit, anybody can do this. Yeah, that sort of dual-sided view of things, right? Excitement and fear at the same time. All right, does everybody have their tokens in their MetaMask wallet, or does anybody have tokens in their MetaMask wallet? Raise your hand if you have your ERC20 token in your MetaMask wallet and you can see it. Yeah, okay, we got 3. Okay, I'll give it a couple more minutes. Yes, sir.
Why does the XDAI already, well, probably because we haven't set up the oil point, but XDAI, it shows a conversion in MetaMask to US dollar, while
Yes.
ours not yet, right? That would be the next step of.
Yes, so you guys just created a token, so it has 3 minutes of history on the blockchain, right? I mean, you can see where it was minted, right? Maybe 10 minutes of history on the blockchain. So there's a whole bunch of databases, centralized databases that are a lot faster and simpler that scrape all this data and track it. And so right now, when you first mint a token, it's not known to anybody, right? But then over time, it'll slowly propagate through the network and become available. MetaMask is luckily fast enough when you go and say, add my token to MetaMask, it can quickly go with the address, look up the token that you just gave it, the symbol it just gave it, and automatically populates that.
Repeat how, so we transfer tokens, how do we get?
Yes.
tokens in?
Transfer tokens, you got it. So I think we're just gonna do paying inside Colony. So the first thing to do is invite people over here. You see this? And it's just a link. So is everybody invited to the Colony?
Yeah.
Okay. So then what you do is you do a new action, and then you say create expenditure.
Yeah.
And then you say payment, and then you can go from root, which should have all the tokens in it. And then this year, you guys should pop up in this assignee list. You got that?
Yeah.
We're done.
Yes, we're done.
So what's the question?
Do we see it in MetaMask?
Oh, you should see it in MetaMask,
Okay.
but you may have to add it to MetaMask. It's like a custom token.
I see it, but it says 0.
0? Did you add it as a custom token?
No, it just appeared there.
Did you guys did you unlocked it, right? You unlocked the token?
Yeah, I think you have to transfer funds from colony to your private. And that's when it will show in your MetaMask.
You do new action, and then you go to the first one, create expenditure, payment, and then in the assignee field, you just fill your address like of MetaMask.
I think they said they did that. You're just not coming up with MetaMask, right?
Oh, it's not going.
But, so you should.
So MetaMask is a little bit weird. if you need to add like import tokens the manual way, you can just copy the contract there. By the way, I can't resist. I have to give you guys another side note. You see this token decimal thing? It often says 18 decimals. And the reason for that is because all crypto math is in integer math, so discrete math. And in order to do like real numbers that people buy and sell things by, they always want to use a token. So the only way to handle kind of floating point numbers, not really floating point numbers, or fractions, is to say the number of tokens I have is always going to have 18 zeros on the end of it if it's an even integer. But then you can go all the way 18 zeros of resolution. So that's, but you can change that however you want. It just so happens that 18 happens to be the standard, or it's not an official standard, it's sort of an unofficial standard. Like everybody uses 18 decimals. So that comes up sometimes, like, why is there 18 decimal points on this thing? And then that actually comes up often in mistakes in smart contracts. People type in a number like 1, and it's like, oh, did you want 10 to the minus 18 of these things, or did you want 1? And then you have to type in 1 with 18 zeros after it because you only want 1. This is like doing low-level nerding with smart contracts, which we're not doing today. So, but just in case you read a story about somebody accidentally sent 1 to the 18th, 1 times 10 times the 18th number of tokens somewhere, it's like, oh, I guess they got the decimal wrong. Okay, you guys get it figured out with stuff on your MetaMask? No, still okay. Hold on, let me come over there. Pause. Oh, actually, for those that want to jump ahead, let's get into well, no, let's get them on their MetaMask. Do this next one. This is going to get even more complicated. Getting there. 2x time. Oh yeah, there it is. There it is.
When you enter the link,
There you go.
accept it.
You got them. Did you import the right one? How did Oh, it showed up as 0?
Yeah.
You don't have any in your account? Try just refreshing it too. It is.
So I see myself as pizza, which is our company. But I cannot join the company. Is that over?
You are in the company, I think. Those are people who are watching. You've invited them, right? So you wouldn't be an invite. Yeah, yeah. You have 0. Yeah. Did you pay yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna pay yourself.
So I pay pizza, right?
Yeah.
So if I it's fishing lines.
Maybe $29.99. Did you? It could be that it just
So it's
burned a few. Are you sending it to Pizza? Is that the company name, or is that your?
that's
Oh, so you're sending it from yourself to yourself, or from the organization? What's your account? Yeah, what's the wallet address? Who are you down there? Is that you? Yeah, yeah. Do the wallet address there. Yeah. Oh, do that. Yeah. Do there. Oh, that's username. So she has 3,000. She has 3,000. You have 0.
Yeah.
But there's 3,000 in the account.
Yeah. In the company.
You should mint another 3,000 maybe for yourself. You know, go back to the mint thing. Yeah, so that there's some in the treasury. You guys getting going over here?
Yeah. I have a question. So once you set up the DAO and it's up and running, can you change the governance tools
Yeah. I voted.
by vote?
Yeah. It's like an organization. It's like, hey guys, I want to kick this person out. Okay, we're gonna vote on it. They're already in.
So you have to play this take you have
Yeah.
the token of the DAO to do more power.
Yeah.
Will do it.
Yeah, this is a good question. The question is, when you can you change the governance structure after you set up a DAO? Yes, but it has to happen under a vote. So and that often happens when you start an organization and then you want to change the rules, and then you realize, wait a minute, somebody minted 90% of the tokens, they just run the whole thing, and all the rest of us are using, messing around with 10% of the tokens, we have no power at all. So this is, I think, Tim mentioned this before, he's like, some of the DAO tooling is a little more centralized than you realize, and you're getting a visceral experience of that right now, where it's like, yeah, somebody's God, and in all these tables, there's one person who's God, and the other person is like trying to catch up, right? So that's not really decentralized, right? So we're working on it. All right, how are we doing over
You try.
Check.
Try. Just. In payment.
Yeah, he tried payment
Oh, it didn't work?
Check this out, because so I am the one who created it, so I was able to transfer it. Yeah. It's the same way, so when I try to do it myself. But you're not able to send to it.
No, he sent it to everybody else.
So they have it already, but I don't. Yeah, so I'm trying to.
Try to refresh the page. Yeah, I just had to see the error. I refreshed.
Because here I. don't-
Refreshing the whole page is a good idea.
I don't know if it's gonna work for you, but I've had this same problem.
That wonderful visceral experience of stuff that you're tooling has a ways to go. Oh, we're gonna do the same thing again. It's gonna error again, and we're gonna be like, why are we doing the same thing?
How many buildings to create?
Hey. Refreshing the page worked. Amazing. All right. All right, let's do the fun part. Ooh, are we off? All right, I just went. Ooh. I went dark up here. Okay. Okay, let's, mindful of time here, let's get on with the next step. Hopefully people have their token in their wallet, and now we can, this is probably, it's hard because you have to build these things up, but this is probably the most complicated step of the whole process. So hopefully this will be simpler, because I figured if you just start with 100 of your token and price it at a penny, you've got 1 XDAI, so you can do 101 XDAI and just set the price that way. But keep in mind, if you do this for real later on, you can set it whatever the hell you want. Okay, but that also means that 1 XDAI and 100 tokens means there's going to be a $2 or 2 XDAI trading pool or liquidity pool. So if you try and trade anything, anything above 10 or 20% of a dollar, it's going to give you errors. But you can try it out. Why not? Okay, so the way you do this is for XDAI, HoneySwap is the one. So if you go to honeyswap.org, and then I want you to click on pool here, and then create pair. So this is where you can add to the existing liquidity pool that's on HoneySwap, that's on Gnosis chain. You can add liquidity there, but we're going to create a pair, which means there is no trading pair for your token and DAI yet. So when you click on create a pair, you should get this page, and you'll notice it says you are the first liquidity provider. The ratio of tokens you add will set the price of this pool. So you're setting K. So what I recommend you do is select XDAI for the first token, And then what you can do is paste your token address into the second address. This is probably the trickiest step. So when you select those, you have those two tokens, XI on the first one, and then when you click select token on the second one, you paste your contract address in that one, and hopefully it will find it. But this is where you want to give it plenty of time to sort of hunt down. You may want to refresh your browser again. That was the solution before, is that if you refresh your browser, everything comes up. But mine was able to find the HKS token after a few minutes of waiting. So once you get those two connected together, you have to approve both tokens with a signature, and then you can supply the token to the pair to start doing some trading on. This is definitely time to pause. So I'll let you guys take care of this.
So basically, the first person that
Yeah, so
creates a pair.
under normal Wall Street conditions, it's like I have this company and I want to take it public. So there's like one company that has a stock, and then there's brokers that look at it, and then the market makers that do it. So there's usually like 18 different people and tons of lawyers involved in this whole process. But right now, we're the ones minting the token. We're the ones providing liquidity. And in a second, we're going to go and buy some of the tokens. So it's kind of like all concentrated into one person, sort of minting a token, trading a token, messing around with tokens, basically. And as I said, isn't it great? Anybody can do it. Oh my God, anybody can do it. So yes, there's been plenty of manipulation in this market, and plenty of games played, and plenty of all kinds of other stuff. So.
Sounds better than Wall Street.
Well, guess what? Greed is everywhere. Okay, does anybody have any questions on Uniswap or HoneySwap, I guess I should say? And are we making progress? Are we getting a liquidity pool there?
So right now we have connected the XI with the token, but it's
Yeah.
0.
Oh yeah, you have to enter an amount. So that's where you put the amount.
Okay.
It also says like a limit. MetaMask.
Oh yeah, so if you're in MetaMask and it's asking you for a limit, I think it defaults to like some crazy high number. So you can just put it at whatever. If you're trying to do 100 tokens, I would just put it 100 tokens.
So you. So we have.
And
That's fine.
and where do we set up the
Question?
Yeah, sorry. So that K value, the constant from the
Yeah.
formula is basically the ratio we put here. Well, not the ratio, but the
Yeah, it's not. They don't show the K in the front end application, but you can do it. 100 times 1, it's going to be 100, right? So you have 1 XI and 100. So anytime you do buying and selling, that K stays constant. And if you take 10 tokens of your tokens off, there'll be 90 left. So the price, the number of what do you call it, dollars or XI should go up by a little bit. So hopefully you have some XI in your wallet, and now you guys can buy your own tokens from each other. I know you just sent them to each other for free, but now you can buy them for some of your XI. So that's the whole point of this exercise, right? Get it listed and go. Questions? You guys making it happen? Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
So every time, so they're trying, so I did it, but when they write $1 for the XI and they try to change the 0 in PSAT, it turns 0 the previous number.
Oh, okay, wait a second. So only one person should create the first liquidity pool. Once you've done that, then you can go to add liquidity here. You see on the, so once it's been created, you set the price, and now if you want to add liquidity with your tokens and your XI, you can do that, but you're going to be locked into whatever his price was that he set. So you can add on to it if you want, or you can just buy all of them. To add liquidity. Yeah, so only one of you has to do it, or if you guys don't want to try, that's fine.
So 1 to 100 would allow us to keep with the exercise, right?
One what?
1 to 100, so 1 XI and 100
Yes.
hours.
Or you could do 1 XI and 0.0001 of yours if you wanted to make a $10,000 token. You could The only problem is there'd be so little in the liquidity pool, you can only sell like
Yeah.
0.001 XDAI worth of tokens. So you could create a teeny little market and buy and sell this little teeny token that's worth $50,000. I've only sold, 3 cents worth, but all kinds of fun games you can play.
So it is asking a custom spending cap.
Oh, so when you're in MetaMask and it asks for that, if you're trying to post 100 of your tokens, I would just set it at 100. Because I think that's what it's asking for, or maybe 1, depending on where you are in MetaMask. It defaults to kind of like some really large number, because it says like, hey, do you want to just give me the approval to spend as much as you got? And usually the answer is no, I want to give you the approval to spend the amount that I want you to spend right now, which is whatever you posted in there, 100 or 1,000.
Okay, so mine, not theirs.
That transaction that you just pressed and you're about to say yes to, there's a number that you put into that
So it
transaction.
should be the same.
Yeah, yeah. That's the safest way to do it.
Say 10,000.
Does everybody have their liquidity pools up and running? All right, so the next step is to trade your token. Next step and the last step is to trade your token. So in that you go back to HoneySwap and you just select, instead of pool, you select swap. And then you can put in the number of XDAI and you can select the token that you want to buy. I suppose you could actually take some of your tokens and buy the XDAI from the person that posted the liquidity pool. So you could like sell all of your cheap tokens and get XDAI from them. This is for educational purposes.
And
So, yes, go ahead.
at what point can they like put value to their tokens, or they know never will? Like I did the swap, so $1 for 3,000 tokens, but it was me. So should they do the same as well?
So you created a liquidity pool, but you were the first one to create a liquidity pool. So use the create pair button. Once that's done for that liquidity pair, someone's already provided it. So they can add liquidity. There's another button next to it that says add liquidity. Right here. So once that pair has been created, you can add liquidity to that. So they can add liquidity to it so you have a bigger pool if you want, which great fun. Everybody can learn how to do it. But then the last step is to buy some of your token. And actually what I'd like you to do is post your tokens into the WhatsApp and I'll buy some too. So, maybe we'll just mess up the markets here. Let's see what happens. I gotta tell you, it's kind of surreal to be sitting in Harvard Kennedy School and talking about manipulating markets. It doesn't seem, you guys are all future regulators, right? I mean, that's why we're here. Maybe not all of you, but. Do we still have people on Zoom? Are they still holding on?
Just one.
Just one holding on? Okay.
And when I add liquidity,
Yes,
does it has to keep the same ratio?
the ratio has to be the same, yeah, but you'll actually end up pushing the curve further out as you add more liquidity to it. So it's better for the overall market. But I want somebody to try and buy some of their own token and push the limit on the percentage of how much is in the liquidity pool. Because the front end gives you some nice little, the easiest thing to do is how much is in the liquidity pool. If you buy 1% of the liquidity pool in either XDAI or your tokens, then it'll be fine. It'll just give you a price and it'll sell you the tokens. But if you try and buy 10, 20, 30, 40% of the liquidity pool, it freaks out and it's like, wow. You can actually override it, but you create all kinds of price disturbances in the actual liquidity pool. So typically you want to do a trade that's much smaller than the liquidity pool. And there have been a number of cases where people have provided tremendous amounts of liquidity, and then after it trades up a lot, they just go and take out all the liquidity, and that is now called a rug pull. So there have been people that have set up their own Uniswap fork did a whole bunch of transactions, maybe they lowered the fee a little bit or whatever. And then they realized, wow, I've got $75 million in here. I think I'll just take that and go home. Thanks, guys. Bye. You're all screwed. Sorry. So you do have to watch for that too. That's what happens in a decentralized exchange, right? Anybody can do anything, and sometimes they're not always great. So, any other questions?
What do you want us to send you? Is it the trading pair? Or
Send me the contract address of your ERC20. Just post it in the WhatsApp group in the intro to Web3 WhatsApp group. Yes, sir.
So when you create the liquidity pool you mentioned, as the creator of the liquidity pool, you get like a
You'll get a percentage of the trades, yeah.
and some kind of ownership of the liquidity pool, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you own that. Yeah, because if more people come in, then you'll still own that percentage of the liquidity pool, and your shares will trade higher.
And you're free to take it out. When
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
And would it be possible to create some kind of to protect the other people within the liquidity pool instead of cashing them out while keeping the liquidity pool instead of they taking it out from it? I don't know if I expressed my idea correctly.
Yeah, no, I think there is probably a way to, sort of put some limits in it and say, if you put liquidity pool in here, you have to leave it in for a certain amount of time in order to get your funds back, right, or whatever it is. There's tons of ideas around how you could build a smart contract to prevent people from rug pulling, basically. It's like, if you want to participate in this liquidity pool, it's a lot more stable because it's easy in, right? It's easy to put money in, but it might take, yes, did you want to take it out? You have to put it on your list to say, I request for retrieval, and then after 90 days, you get your funds back, whatever. So everybody can see it, and there's no way to kind of move things around fast, because those are usually done quickly. Yes, question?
Is there any way to see the total pool that we have for the token?
Yes. Good question. Thank you for that question. Okay. So HoneySwap, if you go right here to the charts, it may not be updated because you guys just created these tokens like a minute ago. So this is, are you seeing this? Yeah. So this is kind of like what's happening on HoneySwap right now, how much liquidity, what kind of volume is happening. So you can type in your specific token in here. Let's see if we can find one. I don't think HKS. Oh, that's probably, oh wait, it is there. There you are. We're there, look at that. Look at all that liquidity. Woo! $2 worth of liquidity and a volume of 0.005 cents. Yeah, baby, we're going to Vegas. Yes.
May I ask you why? Then I tried first time. My operation was like wasn't approved, and then I did the same actions and it approved. It became approved.
So there's a couple of steps in the process that typically bug up things. One is the user interface, so the browser interface. There can be lots of garbage built up in that, especially when you're trying to sign transactions. And there's a timing mismatch between what you're doing on the user interface and what the blockchain is feeding you back with. I was trying this earlier, and there were some things on the XSide chain that were just stuck forever. So if there's a transaction that's stuck forever and you try and do it again, sometimes it gets stuck going back to the old transaction. And then if you just like do a refresh like you were doing, or just wait some time, because then the blockchain like slowly figures out like, oh, this is a dead transaction, I should just leave it alone. So it is strange, because usually when you think of computers, they should be very logical and very straight up, but sometimes you gotta let them sit, let them bake for a while. Any other questions? Yes, sir. You guys good? Did you trade your tokens? Did you put your contract in the WhatsApp thing? Yeah, put your smart contract in the WhatsApp so I can buy some of your tokens.
It's a token, right?
We can send messages to WhatsApp.
Yeah, you should be able to. You should be able to post them. Let's see. Very well. I think so. Oh wait, there's another general. You guys can post in this, right? In this.
No,
only
admins.
In the general one. There we go. There it is. All right. All right, we got a live one here. Let's see. Charts. Let's see what kind of liquidity is in this one. What is this token that we're about to buy? What, how dirty is this token? Is this a good token?
It's so easy that you can be creative with a lot of things.
It may, you know, it may be that this just takes a while because you guys just created this like half an hour ago. So HoneySwap, I know they don't have the most amount of funding because they're on the next side. So I did the Harvard Kennedy School one like 5 or 6 hours ago. So
Harvard? This is UC. I heard this too. It's like general announcements.
I don't know, maybe we'll just try swapping it about that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. I need to buy this token. There it is. Crimson. So if I want to buy 10 cents worth of crimson, how many do I get? I don't know. I'll buy 25 cents. Oh, big bucks here. Oh, price impact too high. All right, 10 cents.
80% price impact.
What's my price impact here? Let's see.
8%.
8%. Okay, swap anyway. Damn it. Swap anyway. I want some of that crimson action. Waiting for confirmation. Woohoo! I'm gonna spend. I'm buying his token. Oh, that's you guys? You guys are the crimson?
Congrats.
I bought some of your token, bro. Let's see if it's on my MetaMask here. It goes into the liquidity pool. So if you guys pull your liquidity out, you'll get the money.
Remove the pool.
You don't have to rug pull actually. You can just sell it. I mean, the rug pull is really like if most of it comes out. I guess I have to add it. I have to add, let's see, refresh list.
What is the technical difference actually? If you remove the pool versus you sell,
If I just buy a whole bunch,
uh-huh,
if I buy like most of the pool, then I completely crash the market for that. That's a rug pull. If I just sort of take 20% of the liquidity pool out, that's like a disturbance, right? It's
can
like,
you take
what the hell?
100% of the liquidity out if you set up the?
Well, if you set up a liquidity pool and other people start contributing to it, you can't push them out, but you can take away your amount. So the rug pull is when somebody puts up like most of the liquidity for a trading pair, and all of a sudden it trades up like crazy, and they're like, cool, let me just cash out of this. So instead of like enjoying the fact that they're minting the token and it's going up in price, it's kind of a jerk move. That's why it's rug pull. You should just participate in the success of your token, right? Where's my crimson token? Here, put it in here. There it is. Look, I have 0.74 crimson, baby. Woohoo! All right, what else am I buying here? What else? What else we got? Oh my God, look at all these things. Did I already get that one? The crimson? Oh no, I got it. Let's get this one. Who is this? All right, let's buy some of that. Minix. So if I buy $1 worth, price impact too high. Okay, 0.10. I'm gonna get, I can't even buy that many. 0.05, all right. I'm gonna get 10 of those. Is that too much? 0.05, I'll get 1. I'll get 1 MNX. Move the price. It's working, it's working, it's working. Put that in MetaMask. All right, it's done.
So we have set an equivalent, right? $2. Is there any way we can change that?
Not once you set it. I mean, other than trading. I mean, adding liquidity to it, subtracting liquidity from it, and trading it is the only way to change it. Now that it's locked in, now you're basically like launching a token, like doing an IPO, and you're trading a token. So now the markets are taking over for what you've done. So that's why, like setting that initial price, there's all kinds of Wall Street firms that would love to charge you a fortune for figuring out what that price should be based on your historical financials and everything else. But we just sort of slam it in there. Why not? All right, what else am I buying here? Who's this? Qing Chen. 6. All right, I gotta buy some 6 here. Insufficient liquidity. Who's that? Who's 6? Is that you? Okay, all right.
I don't think she managed to add.
All right, we'll do Heber. Who's Heber? Piz. I have 0 Piz, but I've got to buy. I'm gonna buy 271 of them. Is that too many? For 10 cents. Swap anyway, baby. The price is going through the roof now with that purchase. Let's see. All right, let me add that to my. Speed up, go faster. Can't wait. I mean, I've got $204 XDAI here. I should be able to buy a bunch of it. I know I only gave you guys $2 to put a liquidity pool in. So. All right, I got some Pete's here. Pizza. Let me just get the. Oh yeah. Look at all these tokens I have. Real tokens. I want you guys to kick butt so they'll go up in value, right? All right, what else I got? Is this you? Yeah. DPA. What is DPA?
That's why.
DPA token. Does that mean I own a percentage of you? Excellent. I'll take that percentage of your future earnings. You're just like an NBA player. You can sell your future earnings potential. I think somebody did that on chain actually.
Yeah.
So how does the price change? So the more you buy the.
Yeah, so it's a swap.
Yeah.
So the more of one token that gets depleted. So yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm going to send the link to this slides out to you guys. And I have this example trade that's hidden. And it's just way complicated. But if you care about the details of how the price moves, you can follow along this example and it shows you kind of how the K changes and how the price iterates on it a little bit. We'll send this slides out to you guys afterwards.
So you also said the providers of the could get the fee for the transaction, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I provided like 90% of all the liquidity, so I.
Yep.
Okay.
So you should get most of that 0.3% of whatever the transaction amount was. All right, any other questions, guys? Otherwise, I'll just sit here all night and just buy all these fantastic tokens. I've got one more to buy.
And the fee is constant either way the swap is done. So for example, you could swap my token to ETH infinite amount of times while I getting the fee.
Yeah. That's why, so that's the beautiful thing. Like, if you think about like Wall Street, right? It's like, oh my God, prices are up. Oh my God, prices are down. They make money no matter what happens, right? Oh, buying, selling, they make money. The house always makes money. So it's like, wait a minute, I can be a decentralized brokerage. So now I can participate in that. I kind of like this business, right? Like, so you, as a liquidity provider, all you care about is volume and like excitement about buying and selling this token. You don't really care if it's going up or down. I mean, you do to a certain extent, but within a certain amount, it's like, yes, keep buying and selling this, right? If you talk to people on Wall Street, they're like, you know, you have to have some selling too. It's not just all about buying. Like, yeah, I guess so. This is not coming through.
And the fee is paid in the.
Alex. Where's Alex?
In which of the.
What's that? The fee is paid.
In which of the tokens?
So when
From
you mint geez, that's a good question. When you provide liquidity, you've actually minted a special liquidity pair token that we can find on Blockscan, and that liquidity pair token has a value. I think it's actually in this chart somewhere. Sorry, I don't have the details on that, but that's a good question. I know in the later Uniswap version 3, they actually mint NFTs that trade for your LP position, for your liquidity pool position, not limited partners. Okay, any last questions, guys? Otherwise, we got to wrap this up. Yes, sir.
So you buy Bitcoin here.
Great question. Because I did say, it's funny, I wasn't sure if anyone was going to notice that. I did say like the largest liquidity pool providers are BTC, ETH. So it's like, how can you go cross chain and have liquidity providing? Well, there's something called a wrapper. So you can take Bitcoin and you can create a new token on Ethereum called WBTC or wrapped Bitcoin. So this should probably say WBTC pair is that would be more technically correct. Because then it's WBTC is basically like I've forfeited, I've sort of locked in my asset on Bitcoin and I've bridged it over to Ethereum and I've minted it on Ethereum so I can trade the value of my Bitcoin on using all this wonderful Ethereum tools out here. And I can't do anything with it on Bitcoin. I mean, it's a great, if you're long-term Bitcoin and you can stick it in a liquidity pool versus ETH because they kind of track each other, it's a fantastic investment. Oh, sorry, not investment advice. Educational purposes only. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to turn off this mic and I'm tired of listening to myself. Last call. I mean, I'll be here, but.
So for Ethereum, there are, I know 3 main ERCs, which is ERC20, 721, and 1155. Are there like any other major ones?
There's all the ones in between those. So I don't know why, but it's ERC, which is like engineering recommended something or other. And for whatever reason, that become like when something is recommended, you think, oh, okay, well, they're going to finalize it at some point. Well, it's actually finalized. So those are the 3 main ones that people have argued about and want to launch and have all the different features that are handy and available. I'm sure there'll be more coming out later on. So ERC 721 is the NFT one.
Yeah.
ERC 1155 is a better NFT, I think, right?
It's more dynamic and dynamic. Where you can like.
I think Uniswap version 3 uses ERC 1155 when you get in the liquidity pool. I think that's how it works. All right, guys. We're all happy? We've minted tokens. We made a ton of money, like at least 0.23 cents today.
Where do I find my help?
I don't know.
I look into the contract. I look into the
All right, peace out.
transaction. I'm not sure if I find my help here. So this is a transaction where I add liquidity. Everything. Yes, add liquidity. I should.
Hold on. I have one more. I forgot. I have one more topic to cover, guys. Sorry. I just want to cover this quickly because I want you to know about it. Let's see. We did the token thing. We swapped the thing. Some areas to explore. I'll send you these slides later on. We want to go through all 6. No. So I want to just talk to you about Safe, which I know the guys that do development at Safe. It's safe.global. But this idea is instead of all that complexity around DAOs, people, and voting and everything, it's like I just want me and my friends to get together and do an investment club. Can I just have some tooling online that allows me to get together and say, yeah, I'll put some money in there and then let's get together and decide and then go online and vote, yes, I think we should buy this NFT or no, we shouldn't buy it. So this is kind of a tool that allows you to set up a safe and then allows you to sort of allocate ownership of the safe to a number of people. And you can decide, and the wonderful thing I like about it is that you can go in and say, excuse me, if there's 5 people, you can just say, where the hell is it? All right, let me just show you the example. Okay, so this is BitDAO. $2.3 billion worth of assets it's a DAO, but it's in a safe. So basically, if I take all that complexity of Colony and I just boil it down to, we're just going to do simple voting. 4 out of 5 people signatures holders have to agree to move funds out or in or whatever. Like that's it. There's no like payments and expenditures and inviting and all that stuff. It's a much simpler way to do it. So you can, if you want to, I think this links straight to this BitDAO thing, so you can look at it. Oh, so if you see up here, it says 3 of 6. That just means that 3 of 6 signatures have to agree in order to move funds out. So this is a handy tool. If we had more time, I typically go through the whole process of having you guys set up a safe. But I just wanted to mention it to you because when you leave here, you're gonna be like, what was all that voting crap again and the DAO? And I don't know, but let me try that safe thing, you know, because I think my friends want to put together some money and, do it. But you see here, like, they just made a $40 million investment. Actually, this is like a 6 months old or so. So the $40 million investment, and I think it's at one of three. So this is a transaction that's queued up. So somebody said, okay, we need to move $40 million into this other account. And somebody teed it up and started it. And then now there's 2 other people that have to sign on it in order for it to actually happen. So it's a very simple tool that is used by trillions of dollars. And I like this one because it's like, this seems like a toy, but yet there's $2.3 billion being held in this thing. And maybe if you guys look at it right now, you can see, if you go to the QR code, you can see how much is currently in it. I assume it's less than $2.3 billion now.
That's the total amount.
1 point something billion. I guess the other point is, are you worried about a few $100,000 in a safe? Well, these guys stuck 2.3 billion. It's at $1.8 billion now. Okay. Well, hopefully it's going to go up because they are an investment DAO. So presumably they'll have some liquidity and, some money will come back into the DAO. So, or it probably went down because I don't know what that $2.3 billion is held in. All right. Blockchains are globally anonymous asset rails facilitating frictionless and trustless digital asset exchange, ultimately becoming the operations for the global economy. So I love saying that in front of Tim, but he's not here. Since he said that governments have to be in the middle of this. God, come on. Congratulations, you made it. Wow. All right, we're good. I'm turning off. I'll be here. I mean, it's only 8 of us, 10 of us, right?
Most practical workshop.
Practical, we love practical. Mind and hand, learn how to do stuff. Cheers. What do we think, guys? You good? Did you figure it all out?
Some of it.
Where do
I
I
love
find that
Spain.
out here?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So this is the transaction where I added liquidity 1,000.
Yeah.
I think if you go to the Uniswap charts.
Color.
I think Uniswap is pretty slow.